What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update and more breaking news. Literally by the hour, breaking news is coming out. We have some good news and some bad news for you guys regarding the $2,000 stimulus checks. In this video, $2,000 plus $2,000 as we move closer to finding out whether or not we're going to get $2,000 stimulus checks. Remember, 48 hours ago, President Donald Trump signed the $900 billion stimulus check package. That has $600 stimulus checks for adults and $600 stimulus checks for children 16 and under. Those are locked in. Those are actually going to be start going out at the end of this week, possibly. The Treasury has already said, so I will keep you updated on that. But $600 checks are literally getting ready to go. So those are locked in. Now we have the movement and unemployment, $300 per week, and rental assistance money, PPP money, another round of PPP money, EIDL money, different buckets of money that I will be helping you guys claim in upcoming videos, okay? The big breaking news now is that yesterday night, the House of Representatives passed a $2,000 stimulus check bill. This is basically from President Donald Trump. This is what he wanted. And what's really interesting is this is $2,000 per person and for all dependents. I went over all the details of this in the morning video from 10 a.m. Very big details in that. I'll link you to that at the end of this video. You're going to want to make sure you watch that video. The thumbnail looks like this. So make sure you watch that video. I'll link you to that at the end of this because there's a lot of details. We actually go through the actual bill and all the details so you know kind of how these payment checks are going to work. Okay, so now Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is trying to introduce the bill today as a bill. They have both this $2,000 stimulus check bill and this veto override of the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, trying to be introduced on the Senate floor today. And they're kind of battling each other. And people are kind of like trying to block one and block the other and get one before the other. So we're going to go over the latest news of that now. First, let's hear from Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer on the Senate floor just moments ago.
Address two major issues: the president's veto of the annual defense bill and the effort to send $2,000 survival checks to millions and millions of American families, something Senate Democrats strongly support. The Senate should be in session to address both issues. There are only a few days left in this session. We should not adjourn until the Senate holds a vote on both measures, the NDAA veto override and the House bill to provide $2,000 checks for the American people. As we all know, the Majority Leader controls the schedule on the floor. So Leader McConnell holds the key to unlocking this dilemma. The solution is a simple one. Put both bills up for a simple up or down vote, and then let the chips fall where they may. I believe both measures will pass, as they should. But Leader McConnell must allow the Senate to vote on both pieces of legislation, the defense bill and the $2,000 checks, before we go home. We will start the process on overriding the president's veto of the defense bill tomorrow. Today, at the end of my remarks, I will ask the Senate's consent to take up the House-passed bill to provide the American people immediate survival checks of $2,000 a person. Throughout this pandemic, working Americans have taken it on the chin. Right now, they're facing their hardest and their darkest days. Tens of millions have lost their jobs. Tens of millions are struggling to put food on the table, keep a roof over their heads. In the wealthiest nation on earth, modern-day bread lines stretch for miles down American highways. The fastest way to get money into Americans' pockets is to send some of their tax dollars right back from where they came. $2,000 stimulus checks could mean the difference between American families having groceries for a few extra weeks or going hungry. The difference between paying the rent or being kicked out of your home that you've lived in for years.
So basically, that's Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who is the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. He's the minority leader, which means he doesn't really have all the power. The majority leader, Mitch McConnell, does. Although that could change literally next week on January 5th when the Georgia runoff races happen, where there's two Republicans up to redefend their seats. And if they lose to both of the Democrats, then it'll be a tie 50-50 in the Senate, with the tiebreaker going to Kamala Harris, and the Democrats will take over the Senate. And Chuck Schumer will likely become the Senate majority leader if that happens. That's literally going to happen in a week. Okay. So that is going to be very important going forward with possibly this bill and also stimulus, other stimulus packages, stimulus check bills, extending the unemployment, extending the eviction moratorium, more stimulus checks going forward, which the Biden administration has already said is going to happen. All these things are kind of be a precursor to what is going to happen going forward. Okay, so now let me get to the bad news and then we'll get to the good news. Okay, first, the bad news. And I kind of expected this. It's not really the end of the world, but let me explain this to you. Mitch McConnell blocks Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's bid to unanimously pass the $2,000 stimulus checks. This is basically what we've seen happen several times over the last week. When they go for a unanimous vote, an up down vote, where basically not a single person can object, it almost never happens this way. Okay. We've seen Senator Josh Hawley try this, and your boy Ron Johnson blocked it. Then we've seen Bernie Sanders try this in the Senate, and Ron Johnson blocked it again. Then we've seen the U.S. House of Representatives try this with the unanimous vote, and it was blocked there also. So then the House basically brought it to an actual vote, and that's when it actually passed with an overwhelming majority of 2/3 vote, which is much higher than the 51% that they needed. Okay. So this is kind of expected. The unanimous votes are almost nowadays never passing because you need every single person to agree, and no one seems to ever, there's always one person that just kind of objects to it. So what we expect now to happen here is we need this to go to an actual vote in the Senate. So the interesting thing is we're starting to see more and more Republican senators actually come out with their support over the last 24 hours. We actually have two brand new Republican senators say yes, that they will vote for this bill. As you can see here, Republicans from Georgia, both the Republicans from Georgia, all of a sudden now, Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, who are running in those January 5th runoff races, have expressed support for the $2,000 stimulus checks. So, what does this mean? Well, they weren't able to pass this bill via unanimous support. Honestly, no bills ever seem to get passed by this unanimous up down, I'm, voting by hand vote. It has to go to an actual vote. And the interesting thing is that Mitch McConnell can try to delay this, block this, but more and more Republican senators are actually coming out publicly and saying, yes, I want to vote for this. And remember, we only need 13 Republican senators to say yes. It actually looks like we have that many, possibly even more. And then also we have Democrats that are saying that they're going to block the NDAA vote, which surprisingly Mitch McConnell wants to vote on, which is like against Trump. They're voting to override President Donald Trump's veto of the NDAA. And Mitch McConnell, even though he's a Republican, kind of wants to do that. It's interesting. So, what does this mean? As you can see here, Senate Republicans face pressure to vote on $2,000 stimulus checks after the House has passed this bill. And again, they passed it with an overwhelming majority. And in addition to that, we're seeing more and more support from Republican senators that are saying they're going to pass it along with President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump says weak and tired Republican, quote, leadership, a direct dig directly at Mitch McConnell, will allow the bad defense bill to pass. Say goodbye to the vital Section 230 termination, your national monuments, fort names, and treasuries, and our great soldiers. So you can see here, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump appear to be feuding publicly over the NDAA bill and the stimulus checks. President Donald Trump goes on to say, give people $2,000 not 600. They have suffered enough. And he actually retweets Nicole Alexander Fisher, who is supporting Bernie Sanders. So basically, Trump is supporting Bernie Sanders here, which is like two opposite ends of the world supporting each other. It's interesting how different parties have come together to support this $2,000 stimulus check. Says Senator Sanders will filibuster any attempt for the Senate to override Trump's veto for the NDAA until a vote for the stimulus increase to $2,000 is brought to the floor. This may force the Senate to stay in session until New Year, which is 2 days away. So, what does this mean? Well, exactly how the bill for unanimous consent has been blocked, they're threatening to do this with the NDAA bill also until a vote happens on the stimulus checks first. As you can see here, Bernie Sanders says this week on the Senate floor, Mitch McConnell wants to vote to override President Trump's veto of the $740 billion defense funding bill and then head home for the new year. Bernie Sanders says, I'm going to object until we get a vote on legislation to provide a $2,000 direct payment to the working class. So Bernie Sanders is basically saying the same thing, that they're not going to let a unanimous consent vote go through on the NDAA. They're going to object to voting on it until they vote on the $2,000 stimulus check package, which has already passed the House of Representatives with an overwhelming majority, more majority than they need to actually pass it in the Senate. Republican Senator Josh Hawley, who is one of those 13 votes that we need from Republican senators to vote yes on these $2,000 stimulus checks, tweets, working Americans have borne the brunt of this pandemic. They have been hammered through no fault of their own, which is kind of like mimics what President Donald Trump says. They deserve $2,000 in stimulus relief, a fraction of what the banks and big businesses got. Let's vote now. Again, this is Republican Senator saying, let's vote now. He goes on to say, we've got the votes. Let's vote today, indicating that there's at least 13 Republican senators who are going to vote yes. And he shows here both Senator David Perdue, a Republican senator, who says, I support this push for $2,000 stimulus direct relief checks for the American people, retweeting President Donald Trump. So yet another Republican senator who has come into play this morning saying that they're for the stimulus checks, as well as another Republican senator, Kelly Loeffler, who also says, I agree with President Donald Trump. We need to deliver $2,000 direct stimulus checks to the American people. So honestly, all this is really good news as we start to see more and more Republican senators show support for these stimulus checks for two reasons. One, we need to show Mitch McConnell that there's enough Republican senators to say that they're willing to vote on this, so he'll put it up for a vote. Mitch McConnell doesn't like to put bills up for a vote that he knows are going to fail, okay? Especially when they're of this big magnitude. That's just kind of like his pride thing. So as more and more Republican senators step out, like Kelly Loeffler, and we just seen David Perdue, two more, and Marco Rubio just came out last night. We also seen Senator Lindsey Graham. We have Senator Josh Hawley. We have Mitt Romney. We literally probably have enough votes from the Republicans to pass this bill. So that's good for two reasons. Number one, it shows Mitch McConnell, Mitch Republican, that there's enough support to put this to a bill because it'll pass. And number two, it shows us that there's enough Republicans to actually able to pass this bill just like it passed in the House. Remember, it passed in the House with like a 66% majority saying yes, and we only need 60% in the Senate, and we need just a very few amount of, literally every single vote matters. We need 13 Republicans to say yes. I think that when we actually get this to a vote, which could be today, if we get enough Republican saying yes, Mitch McConnell agrees to vote on it today. Remember, he wants to go home for the New Year's. So, and also Bernie Sanders and other Democrats are saying that they're going to block voting on the defense override bill, which Mitch McConnell wants to vote on, unless we vote on the stimulus check bill. And as you've seen Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer say, let's just vote on the bill, see what happens, see if it passes, See if it doesn't. See if we get 59 yes votes or if we get 60 or 61. I expect it to be very, very close. Literally, one or two people could be the determining factor of whether this $2,000 stimulus check bill passes or not. It's literally going to be that close. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out on new videos. You get notifications when we go live, which is typically 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the last few days, we've actually had a breaking news story at 11 p.m., which is 8 p.m. West Coast time. So you won't get a notification for that. You can only get 3 per day. So if you want to just stay on touch with the channel, I'll let you kind of know if there might be an 11 p.m. video. This way you can just go on YouTube and just type in It's Jimmy in the search bar and just find the newest video. Next, if you haven't watched this morning's video, click on this top video here, which goes over the details of who's getting the $2,000 stimulus check. Very important video. Click on that top video next if you haven't watched this morning's video. It's very important. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.